Hi guys, Jeff at Slavens Racing. This video is about Octane, Octane ratings. And I'm sorry it's going to be a little graphically boring. You're going to see the same shot throughout the video. Because if you have insomnia issues, maybe to help you get some good sleep. But if you can hang in there, I'll try to give you some good information to work with here. We get lots of questions about this, especially in the summer months when guys are coming out from low elevation states to Colorado where we have high elevation riding, 6 to 12,000 feet in elevation. And guys are confused about Octane and what it does and if they need to increase it or decrease it for elevation. So I'm going to cover all that. I'm also going to cover some other misconceptions about Octane. But so what is Octane? Let's start there. It's not something you can hold in your hands or squeeze or touch. Octane, it's just a rating. It's actually called an anti-knock index. So the higher the number, the less likely your engine is to knock. And the higher number, the more resistance that fuel has to burning. So that's where it starts getting confusing. So as the number goes up in the octane rating, the fuel is less likely to burn, which seems backwards for horsepower. But it's not. Because as an engine builder, we want to control the burn and not just let it happen on its own. That would be called pre-ignition. All right, so why do we want to use higher octane fuels? This is a S3 head insert. So we want a controlled burn. So the spark plug sits here. Obviously it's in this hole right here. And we want the fuel to burn from here out to the edge, not explode. Explosion is a pre-ignition situation. And we want to be able to control that, what's called the flame front. And that's the speed at which it travels along from here to here. If it just all goes off at once, then you have a bomb. And then you have the knock and the rattle, and you have poor performance. And of course, there's a lot of things that control this besides just the octane rating, the compression ratio, the design of the head, the design of the squish band. And by the way, guys, this pertains to 2-strokes and 4-strokes. This is not a 2-stroke video, although I just have 2-stroke parts sitting out here. So with octane, we can pump up the compression, increase the compression of an engine, which makes that fuel more ignitable. As you increase compression, you increase the energy that's in that fuel. I'll call it a fuel cell, the fuel that's sitting here on top of the piston, and then it's going to go up. As the piston goes up, it's going to get compressed and create even more energy. So with energy, you create heat. And with that energy and heat, the fuel becomes more combustible and wants to ignite on its own without even a spark plug. That's how diesels operate. That's why they have that rattle sound. So by controlling the flame front and controlling the ignition point of that fuel, we can increase the compression. You can do other things like increase the timing. There's a lot of variables here. And Octane helps us manage that as an engine builder. All right, guys, so I'm sure some of you are sitting there scratching your head about my comment that the higher the octane rating or index is, the less resistance to ignite, to burning the fuel has. So higher octane fuel is more resistant to burning or igniting than low octane fuel. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense because you're thinking higher octane, more horsepower, yada, yada, yada. So let me explain what's going on inside the engine and why we want that less resistant fuel. All right, so there's the piston. It's right there is the bottom of its stroke. So there's a big fuel charge sitting here. And by fuel charge, I mean a fuel and air mixture. We'll say it's around 13 to 1, 13.5 to 1. 13 parts air to 1 part fuel. So there's a big charge sitting right here. And as this goes up, it's getting compressed because the head's sitting here. And it's all getting pushed into this combustion chamber, which is this area. And as it goes up and as it gets compressed, it's creating more energy. So this fuel charge is becoming, is generating a lot more energy, and with energy comes heat. And as it comes up, that just increases. And if the octane is too low, then the fuel wants to burn on its own without the spark plug ever igniting. Obviously the spark plug is going to be sitting up here. And when that happens, when you get that pre-ignition, the fuel pre-igniting is what pre-ignition means. So it ignites before you want it to ignite. When you get that, the piston is going up, of course. We want it to go up and down, up and down. As it's going up, and if it ignites too soon by itself, then it's trying to push the piston back down as it's coming up. Well, it's not successful. It doesn't push it back down at that point, but it sure gives it a lot of resistance because it's trying to push it back down. You got this big fuel charge sitting here that went off, and it expands and is trying to push the piston down as the piston is trying to come back up. That's where you get the poor performance. You get an engine that feels like it's flat and just doesn't want to pull through the RPMs. And then you get that knock and ping to let you know what's going on in there. Because it's trying to push the piston back down as it's coming up. It's just that simple. It's not brain surgery by any means. All right, so with higher octane fuel that is less resistant to burning, then we can control when that fuel charge goes off, but we can make it go off when the spark plug ignites instead of igniting by itself. That's the benefit of octane, is controlling the charge. Almost dropped that one on the concrete. All right, guys, I hope that makes sense, that part of it there. So let's get on to just some of the basic questions we get. I kind of already explained the benefit of the octane. And so if you have a stock motor, do you need higher octane? No. Especially on the KTM two-stroke models, they're what I consider a mid to low compression engine. At sea level, they put out 160, 165 pounds. That's a pretty mellow compression ratio, or compression number. And a pumped up motor will be closer to the 200 pound range. Up here in high elevation, I pump my motors up to around 215, sometimes 220. But I kind of tell most people they should stick around that 200 number, 190 to 200. That's just a little safer range. But anyhow, so is there an advantage to running higher octane fuel in a stock engine? Generally speaking, the answer would be no. On face value, that would definitely be a no, but there are exceptions to that. That is, if your jetting or if your mapping on a fuel-injected model bike is lean, well then adding octane, a higher octane fuel, when it's less resistant to burn, so it runs richer. So if you have a lean condition on your bike, for whatever reason, it came that way from the factory, or you've monkeyed with it and got it too lean or whatever, and if you add or change to a higher octane fuel, it will richen the fueling on it, and so therefore it would make it run better. So in that situation, yes, high octane fuel would be helpful. If you don't have those underlying issues and just a box stock motor, well then there's no benefit to putting in higher octane fuel. It's just going to go out the exhaust pipe. You're just wasting money. Next question we get about octane is, All right, I'm going to Colorado on vacation. I'm going to bring thinking about bringing some race gas with me to help out for the elevation, make my bike run stronger. Well, that's exactly backwards. As you go up in elevation, your compression goes down. As your compression goes down, then that fuel charge I was just talking about, the energy in that is much less. And so the fuel is less likely to burn. In Colorado, you're best off running the lowest octane fuel we sell out here, which is 85, because it burns easier. It's more predisposed to igniting. And higher octane fuel is more resistant to burning, so it runs richer. The elevation also makes them run richer because you have less air. And so adding octane or increasing octane is just going to make your bike run worse at high elevation. Even with my pumped up 300 two-stroke, I run pump 85 gas all the time. And my bike does not rattle or knock. All right, guys, so let's kind of review this and wrap this up before I bore you to death. Some other questions we get are, will increasing octane cure a pipe bang issue? So pipe bang is a totally separate issue that KTM, Husqvarna two-strokes have sometimes, and it's a deceleration issue, where there's a little issue going on inside the pipe that makes a bang sound, whereas what we're talking about here with octane is engine knocking under acceleration, not deceleration. So no, it does not fix pipe bang. Another question is, will it get better fuel mileage? Guys say, well, I'm going to do a big long loop, got my big tank on, my 500 or whatever bike, I'm going to do like a 250-mile loop, will increase the fuel mileage? The short answer to that is no. An exception to that would be, if you've got some underlying issues, too much compression, maybe the fueling's too lean, some type of a weird map if it's a fuel-injected bike, it might help cure some of those issues. Like if it's too lean, it's going to make it richer. If it's got high compression, then it's going to tend to have a pre-ignition problem, so the engine's going to be struggling. And by increasing the octane, then the engine, it's probably not going to struggle, so it's going to run easier, run better. And yes, in that situation, it could possibly give you better fuel mileage. But generally speaking, octane does not increase fuel mileage. Another question we get is, will lower high octane increase or decrease my engine life? Well, again, it's kind of if you have underlying issues. If your bike's knocking and rattling, well then increasing the octane and fixing that problem is definitely going to increase the engine life, because when it's knocking and pinging like that, it's kind of creating some premature wear on the engine. It's making the engine struggle, so the bearings are working harder. You even might do some damage to the top of the piston. So yeah, if you have underlying, and especially extreme underlying problems, well then, yeah, increasing octane would make your engine last longer. Typically, if your bike is running fine, increasing or decreasing the octane is not going to do a damn thing. So just, it's already at its sweet spot, so just leave it alone. I kind of already discussed the high elevation thing. Is higher octane needed for higher elevation? Absolutely not. That's the wrong direction to go. Lower octane fuel works better in the mountains. And does higher octane equal higher horsepower? Well, it goes back to what I just said a minute ago. Only if there's other issues going on. If you've monkeyed with your motor or something like that, well then the higher octane could help remedy some of the issues. But the octane itself, higher octane does not mean higher horsepower. What it does enable you to do by controlling when the fuel ignites, it allows you to build more compression in the engine. More compression equals more torque and horsepower. So in that sense, higher octane does help. It helps you build more horsepower, but it by itself does not create more horsepower. Also, as I mentioned before, octane makes the fuel less resistant to burning, so it makes the fuel mixture richer. And if you've got a bike that's a little on the lean side or has a lean spot somewhere in the power band, in the fueling or in the jetting, then increasing octane could be beneficial in that situation. Sometimes you can just increase it a little by like a 25% race gas to 75% pump gas, or 50-50 race and pump gas. That's a fairly common thing that guys do. It does quite often create a situation where the bike is a little bit easier to jet. It's a little more stable. And I think that's about the end of this thing here, guys. I think I beat this horse to death. Hopefully it's helped you understand octane, what it does, the benefits, the downsides, everything about it. If you have any questions, just send us email, info@slavensracing.com. You're also welcome to call us. We answer on our phones. And we've got although most of my staff is not familiar with octane, so if you can't, if this video didn't answer your question, you're probably best off just sending an email into our info@slavensracing.com. If my staff can't answer it, they'll forward it to me and I'll respond. If you're in a big hurry, then just pick up the phone, because we get to emails when we can. We do have lots of other things to do on a daily basis, and emails are definitely a priority to us, but we can't drop everything to answer your email. Some guys get a little cranky with us sometimes if their email's not answered in 30 minutes. Well, that's just ridiculous. We can't do that. Often we can, but if we can't, we can't. Sometimes it might take a little longer, maybe 24 hours. And if it's something that I need to help them with, it might take a couple days. I'm a busy guy, but I do what I can to help you guys. But just have a little patience. But anytime you have any type of a question, and you need a quick response, well, then pick up the phone. I mean, I know you have your phone in your pocket, so pull it out, give us a call. I think that's about all, guys. As I've said many times before, don't forget why you bought your bike. Get out and ride. Ride it like you hate it. Hammer that puppy and have some fun. Wear out some tires. That's all for now.